Hey guys, Omni here. I try to always make a video at least when I have some personal investment in whatever it is I'm reacting to or viewing or talking about. So sometimes there's a little bit of a gap between videos, but I still haven't seen any trailers that I'm interested in. But we got some news this week on top of some other stuff we've talked about before that is just kind of confounding me just a little bit. And that is because Netflix just announced yesterday that they are canceling Daredevil after its successful season 3. Now, we will not be getting a Daredevil season 4, so that is the latest show to get chopped off the block. Like, I don't know what is going on behind the scenes over there. I don't. I know a lot of people were speculating it might have something to do with the Disney streaming service um coming out soon in 2019, but I don't know, cuz Luke Cage did okay with its season 2. It wasn't as groundbreaking or as effective as the first season. I liked it better than the first season, but I don't think its impact was as much as the first season of Luke Cage. Um Iron Fist season 2 did leagues better than the first season of that, because the first season of Iron Fist was such a joke. Like, it took so long to get going. There was so much padding, and the action was just very, very subpar, especially in a universe that proceeded after two strong and action-packed and great choreographed fights and everything from Daredevil season 1 and season 2. And it vastly improved upon all of that. Season 2 of Iron Fist had a much better, tighter story. It was shorter, so there was less padding involved. Everything about season 2 was better. The acting, the action, the plot, all of it. And Luke Cage and Iron Fist were the first to announce to be axed off of Netflix, at least going forward. They keep saying the same tagline that we will see these characters live on beyond these TV shows. Um, and then we got the exact same statement after the announcement of the cancellation of Daredevil. They said the same thing. Now, that can mean the way it's worded is super vague, because it doesn't say that we'll see these versions of the characters. It's not saying that we'll see these actors again. Um, and that's kind of what bothers me, because a lot of these portrayals, especially the Daredevil one, like Charlie Cox, to me in my brain now is Daredevil, and Vincent D'Onofrio in my brain right now is Kingpin. Their performances were so spot on that it's kind of like, when it comes down, it's always going to happen, but it's like when you have to replace like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. It's destined to happen, but in your brain, or Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, is like when there's a perfect casting for a role and just executes it on all cylinders. It's going to be really hard to follow it up. Now, the reception for Daredevil season 3 was positive. There was very few people talking negatively about the latest season. I loved watching it. There's not a whole lot I would complain about, except I feel like it would have been better if it was a little bit shorter, like Iron Fist, rather than the usual 13 episode arcs that they have. Because there's a little plot, there's a couple of plots that were just kind of circling themselves. But either way, the way this statement is worded doesn't tell us whether or not these characters, these actors will carry on. It only says the character will live on. Now, that can mean it might get rebooted by Disney. They could just be referring to the character living on in the comics. It's just really vague and a little upsetting to me, because like that was definitely one I was looking forward to. And one I was more looking forward to is the Punisher season 2. And right now, nothing's been said about that. We haven't had any new information about it. We haven't heard anything about it being canceled, but they canceled their leading show. They're the one that started it all, the one that ties everything together. And the only two left that they haven't said anything about are Jessica Jones and The Punisher. And The Punisher season 1 was fan freaking tastic. And if any of this has anything to do with the Disney streaming app, I don't see how you can do The Punisher this way on that platform in a way that Disney would want it done, because that show pushed so many buttons as far as the violence, the topics, especially Jessica Jones with its themes with rape survivors, survivor's guilt, all that stuff. Like there's some heavy topics and themes in these Netflix shows that won't work on the Disney streaming service. And that's the one reason I feel like these that in the background, whatever's going on behind the scenes, that might not be the case. Because the shows in their current form, I don't see how they would work on the Disney platform without being watered down so much, and then they'd be losing any of their relevance, in my opinion. I don't know. Like when they first announced Luke Cage being canceled and Iron Fist being canceled, my brain was like, "Oh, this is just marketing for them to like sprinkle in down the road that they'll be hitting us with a Daughters of the Dragons or a Heroes for Hire show." I was like, they won't be their respective shows were canceled, but then we would get like a team up show that would continue them forward. Because the way Luke Cage ends, that could very well happen with him being in the situation he is at the end of that. I'm not going to spoil or anything, especially with Danny Rand at the end of season 2 of Iron Fist. Like, I, but then Daredevil gets announced that it's canceled, and I can't think of any tie-in that they could just like boom drop on us later involving Daredevil and the other two, because they did say they wouldn't be making any more Defenders. There would not be a Defenders season 2. So I have no idea what's going on, or if these versions of the characters are just being retired. And I mean, I guess the way these seasons have ended, it can be on one of those notes a la Dark Knight Rises, where it's just kind of the main arc is concluded and implied stories to continue in that world to live on is implied, as with the suit passing on to um, Joseph Gordon-Levitt at the end of Dark Knight Rises. The story's not over, but it is for the viewer. I can see how these endings for seasons 3 of Daredevil, season 2 of Luke Cage, and Iron Fist can kind of give that impression, but I feel like no one was wanting that. At least that's the impressions I've got from the reviews I've seen, other people I've heard talk about it. My personal opinion, I'm just really, really surprised that Daredevil out of all these got axed, especially before Jessica Jones, because it had the weakest season 2 out of all of them, in my opinion. The season 1 of Jessica Jones was one of my favorite versions of these shows. It was fantastic. David Tennant as Kilgrave was so good. The drama was so good. Everything about that first season was really good. The second season comes around, and I feel like it disappointed on almost every level. I know Iron Fist didn't have the greatest start, but it definitely picked up. It wasn't declining. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on over there behind the scenes at Netflix. I don't know if Disney's involvement and their push for their own streaming service has anything to do with this. I'm just confused, a little sad about it, especially cuz I just finished watching it not that long ago. Maybe to keep things going a little bit more on the channel, we'll just be talking things as they come out between, trailers and stuff like that. Just because I want to engage with you guys. I want to get your all's opinions. I want to know what you all think and how you all feel about this announcement What are your speculations on what the meaning behind this is? Is there an end game? I don't know. Let me know what you all think. Um, if you're interested at all, you can check out my reactions to every episode of season 3 of Daredevil on the Stardust app. As always, links are in the description. But yeah, not a great note to end on, but what can you do? The world doesn't always give you good news, especially these days. But anyway, I'll catch you all next time. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all later.